But nobody votes for the vice president. I think that's been a myth forever. People say, oh, you got to have the vice president to get the votes for this state or this segment or that segment. I never voted for a vice president. I don't know anybody never voted for a vice president.
Bill, you don't think it makes a difference, though?
Not one bit.
But look at like Sarah Palin. People say Sarah Palin, wasn't the best VP. They say Dan Quayle wasn't the best VP. There's a lot of analysts, experts that have tried to make these arguments that it can make a difference, and depending on who you have next to you. What do you think?
No, what I'm saying is, as far as getting votes, electability, I don't think anybody votes. Somebody doesn't look and say, well, I like this guy's president, but I like that other vice president better, so I'm going to vote for that person. No, they're going to vote for the president. And the vice presidents really don't do anything. I mean, I haven't witnessed one that's really done a whole lot, except for maybe Cheney under Bush 43.
Yeah, Cheney pretty much ran the show. It seems like he pretty much called most of
it. But like you mentioned, like Quayle and so forth, they never really did much. Vice presidents are more figureheads, and they're more like statesmen. They go to funerals, they do the visits and so forth, but they don't really they don't really push and promote the policies or whatever. The president's responsible for that.
I think the vice presidential selection is super important, and the reason is it's going to be a super close election. Normally, your first goal is not to screw it up. Like Dan Quayle was a screw up. Sarah Palin was not a screw up. One of the biggest myths,
media made her out to be, though.
One of the biggest myths of all time is that she hurt McCain. Bullshit.
The other way around.
The only time McCain led was after he picked Sarah Palin, and then his handlers mismanaged her. But Trump has a tendency to pick bad people, and he can't be allowed to pick Ben Carson or Stefanik, people have to get in this guy. I know if he's rumored to pick Ben Carson, I'm going to call the three people I know who know Trump and beg them to call him. I mean, he's not. Trump has a lot of talent. Picking people is not his best talent. He's used to picking his family to run his company. I get it. It's a trust thing. So he's got to nail this, or it could be a big mistake. So if you pick a libertarian, or Rand Paul is not a libertarian, but he'd get you an extra % of the vote, because libertarians would vote for him who don't like Trump. Vivek is sort of libertarian. I know Greg apparently doesn't like him, but
I like his policies. I just don't like the fact that he hasn't done shit in his life. You don't get that. You don't get the headline. Hey, I want to be the CEO. I just graduated from Harvard. I want to be the CEO. People like that bother me. They bother me.
Like Obama, he's a mystery. I think we need to hear more about him. But so Greg, what do you think about VP?
Well, I will say this, Washington is like Hollywood. They make movies, guy falls off the building, 36 stories. And then the next scene you see him just running. You're like, how the hell is that happen? It doesn't matter. It's Hollywood. They make it up the way they want to make it up. And just the fools that are watching are just going to be entertained. Yeah, the vice president is not going to be based on us. We live in a bubble. Hey, Tucker Carlson, I love Tucker Carlson. Be great. Hey, this guy be great. But we're thinking like thinking people, like rational people. Hollywood is fake. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Washington very much like that. He's going to pick a vice president that is going to be like the supporting role in a movie. You go to see the star, but you like a good supporting. How do they gel? You know what? And Trump, look, he's all about the looks. If I were to gamble and bet, I say it's Kristi Noem, because she's hot. She's pretty. She's a chief executive of her state. She's conservative. Personally, I would be, if you're looking for the female vote, she's it. I like Sarah Huckabee. They're floating her name. She's ugly. I love her. You know what? But you know what? She's not attractive. That doesn't go. And one thing he hated about Bolton, above everything else, and him being a neocon, was his big stupid mustache. He didn't like the way he looked. I've also heard him floating Tulsi Gabbard. Make no mistake. This woman's a Democrat. That's not going to do anything. But picking the vice president is not going to be about, hey, who am I ideologically aligned with? This is Hollywood for ugly people. It's who am I going to get the most votes, and how am I going to accomplish my objective, which is getting the White House? Although I do say it is important because he is to Bill's point, he's a 4-year president. It's going to be important because this is going to be the potential next president, for 8 years after Trump.
I like Kristi Noem on a horse. Unbelievable. Didn't she have an issue though? I don't even want to bring it up. I thought she had an issue. But
we all have issues.
Yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't have an issue?
No, I think I like Kristi Noem. As a consultant, I like Kristi Noem. She's got a lot of she checks a lot of boxes.
What happened? What issue?
She's easy on the eyes too. That's important.
Yeah.
She's smart. She's done a good job.
Yes.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm a part-time political consultant. Certain people, you looks are important in freaking politics. It's a fact.
Right.
She's got the looks. She's
Now,
smart too, and she's done a good job. She did a good job during COVID. Her state, is it North or South Dakota? Is it North?
South Dakota.
Her state remained open. That took a lot of guts.
Now, you said she had issues, Jim. What?
I don't even want to say what they are. There's rumors. It's all public.
She's a swinger.
Swinger?
There was some rumor about her marriage.
Jim, say it. What? There was what? Rumor about what?
These were published reports. I'm not saying anything that's on the internet.
Okay, but no, I know. But what did the published report say?
I don't even want to say what they say because I don't want to.
Infidelity, swinger.
Well, something along those lines. If that's going to be an
issue, sounds like haters.
That's going to be a problem. No, it was in the British newspapers. I'm not saying it's true.
How long ago, Jim?
About 6 months. I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. It was big news at the time.
Did the American channels report on it?
Not so much. She denied it, and that was the end of it. But whatever. I mean, but if you're picking a VP, that stuff is important. You got to look at.
Well, if you're talking about infidelity in affairs, we all know that Trump has had many of them. So would that really be a factor?
People need to look at their own lives too.
It just magnifies Trump's problem.
Like the everyday people that judge that.
You just don't.
And when it comes from a woman, it looks worse.
Yeah.
It looks much more damaging. Looks much more.
Yeah. Google it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. If it's false, fine. If it's not false, it's a problem. Wow. I have no information about it whatsoever. And I don't care about stuff like that personally. But when you're picking a vice presidential candidate and you got A and B has problems and A has no problem, like Tucker Carlson, apparently, he looks like he's totally scandal free. That's a big deal. In
so you still think we're at a point in society and civilization where voters care about
Google
what politicians do
Google
in their personal life and in the bedroom?
I'm going to talk about rumors on the internet.
No, but you do think voters
Google it. You'll know why I think it's a problem.
But Jim, do you think a lot of voters still think this is an issue, like what people do in their personal life?
Yes, I do. Everything's an issue. Everything matters. Everything matters.
So you think we're still in the Bill Clinton sort of days where people are that petty and they care about that sort of stuff?
Yes. Some people care. And you can't lose any votes in this election. It's going to be decided by 1 or 2 points.
I care about illegal immigrants coming here.
Brian, what are your thoughts so far on everything?
Well, I'm going to go away from this VP talk because I'm over it. It's boring. What I've been focused on is the World Economic Forum today.
Oh, yeah, that's going on this week. That's a big one this week.
Yeah.
They're all over there hanging out, partying. And
so all the demonic
prostitutes are sold out. They got the prostitutes all booked up.
Yeah, and probably all the human trafficking of the children too are all there probably too as well. Yeah, those global demonic elites getting together.
Oh,
you know what they're discussing there is different disinformation now.
And we all know these elitists you know, they participate in pedophilia. It's been discovered. It's been reported. I'm not saying all of them, but
Yeah.
it's a
I
common
didn't name
thing with a
names.
lot of them.
But a lot of them, yes.
But as you were saying with the World Economic Forum, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, so sorry. Yeah, you're right, Rory. I thank you for clarifying that really well for me. And so they're there discussing disinformation right now.
Yeah.
So what they're worried about is like freedom of speech. It's actually where they want it. And then Congress just passed that bill recently too, as well. So they're coming after they're basically doing the communism, Marxism, shut people like us down, people like who want to speak the truth or stating the facts. It's very they're coming for, it's a very dangerous situation. We all have to be prepared for that. And then also a judge and also DC vetoed like a merger between the two airlines, Spirit Airlines and JetBlue, because they said it would have made them the fifth largest airline in the world, or in the state, or in the country. I think, yeah, fifth largest anyway. But and then a continuing resolution, they just passed it till March again. That's all the economy stuff basically is where I'm trying to stay focused at right now, and freedom of speech.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And it says here, and I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. Hunter Biden to sit for a closed door deposition along with 5 associates. Hunter Biden will sit for a closed door interview on February 28th, along with 5 Biden family associates at various dates. House Oversight Committee Comer and Jim Jordan announced Thursday. Jim, you're a lawyer. Do you think this is going to go anywhere?
I really don't know.
It was just reported today.
You know what? The problem with the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scandal is it's so complicated. It gets boring and your eyes glaze over. And they haven't been able to, like, I often ask clients, tell me what your case is in one sentence, because I got to explain that to a jury. So it's so complicated that I think people are going to get bored with it, frankly. And I don't know if it's going anywhere.
No, I hear you. It's one of those things. It's
I mean, they got him on tax evasion. I honestly don't know why. You know, he said he wanted to go public with the hearing, and I'm thinking, if I got this guy, I'll have a public hearing. What are they afraid of? That's weak.
What do you think of the Fannie Willis case?
It almost reminds me of Benghazi. The very disappointing Benghazi hearing when Hillary actually made sense, if you can imagine that. Republicans are incompetent fools, generally speaking, unfortunately.
What do you think of the Fannie Willis case?
That's a cluster F. I mean, that's a disaster. It's a joke. Those people should go to jail. But that's the only case where Trump is actually at risk of going to jail. So that's a scary one. But it sounds like this scandal over the prosecutor is going to blow it up.
Yeah,
I think it's essentially killed that case.
But do you think that'll open doors to what they were doing criminally?
That's the only case that's not federal. So all the federal cases, if Trump wins the election, either he or his vice president could pardon him. Vice president temporarily taking office because the president is incapacitated, blah, blah, blah. I've explained this theory before. But the state one, not even the governor apparently can pardon him, even though the governor's kind of a rhino, whatever he is. So that's a scary one. But I think this scandal has, basically sabotaged that case in favor of Trump. That's my impression. I'm not following it super closely, but I only know what you know from the headlines. But all the cases against Trump are BS. I think the one that's probably legally the most valid is the classified documents thing, but that's all technical BS. You know, no harm, no foul is my view on that.
Greg, you have any
other ones? The one in New York, the business fraud, that's a joke. The one involving January 6th is a complete fraud and a hoax and a joke. And the one about the phone call in Georgia, that's a complete hoax and a fraud.
Yeah. Greg, you have any thoughts on this?
Well,
matter?
I mean, this election, and as many people have been reporting on, there are more elections going on in the world today than this year than ever in the history of mankind. But the entire world is against Donald Trump. He is a bulldozer to their establishment. He's a bulldozer to their deep state. He's a bulldozer to their global ambitions. And they literally despise him. Now, they'll take any other Republican if they have to. They just don't want Donald Trump, which makes it, I'll tell you, very uneasy as you're going into this election year, because this is not a normal election. You've got on every level, from the federal government to state and local governments, hell-bent on destroying Donald Trump and making sure, or trying to prevent him from getting on the ballots. And no matter where you stand on this issue, you can't ignore the fact that it is going to have an impact. And, you know, you've got the election issues that we had in 2020. It's going to compound the problem, whether it's the ballot harvesting, it's them and the left deploying forces in these inner cities and collecting ballots. All of these are going to make for a very, very volatile 2024. And on top of that, we have a failing economy, We've got a commercial banking crisis that is about to implode. We've got a commercial real estate that is about to implode and is imploding. All of these forces are converging in a way that has never been seen in the United States of America. Everything coming together, extreme volatility. And it doesn't bode well for the American people, because no matter what happens, it is going to be mass chaos. I mean, Trump loses, mass chaos. Trump wins, mass chaos. I mean, no matter how you slice it, it comes out very ugly. You know, you just kind of look around and you say, I mean, I don't know, I'm just going to brace for impact. You know, I mean, this is not going to be a soft landing. You know, this is a crash landing, and you just hope that maybe you're in one of those seats that gets spared the fireball. And it's just going to be, I don't know, troubling, interesting, volatile, however you want to say it, but it's not going to be a smooth year, to say the least.
Bill Muckler.
Yeah, I'm glad Greg brought this up, because I'm looking at a lot of indicators, and Brian kind of mentioned this earlier too, but didn't go where I'm going. I think that we're going to have a recession this year.
Oh yeah.
With the way the Fed is manipulating currency and the interest rates, it just doesn't look good at all. And when you pile on top of that the credit card debt, which now is getting close to 1.1 trillion, and a national debt that's more than 34 trillion, might be 36 by the time the election is here. You know, this just doesn't look good. But the Fed keeps pumping enough money into the market, and there's enough money in, I guess, I saw something about $8.8 trillion is in cash, that they can keep the market looking good. So that kind of covers over everything. But really, I think as far as the economy is concerned, if we hit a recession, what does that do to the electability issues between Trump and Biden? It looks like Biden would just he wouldn't get a vote, but you know, he's still got the hardcore Democrats, Marxists, that are going to vote for whoever the Democrats run. They could run a rat and they would elect him.
And it isn't even just the Democrats, it's the Republicans. I mean, they would rather keep the government open than secure the border, which is disastrous. And I don't care if it's McCarthy or if it's Johnson. I don't care who it is. It should be like, the government is going to shut down. This is hardball. Our country is under an invasion. We are destroying. I mean, look at you're seeing hospitals that are collapsing all over the country because they're massive illegal immigration, putting enormous strain, social safety nets, healthcare, education. It's costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. And it's the end of America. It really, that's not hyperbole. It is the end of America unless we stop it. And Republicans are not willing to shut down this defunct, incompetent bozos in Washington, D.C., because you're going to another $1.5 trillion or plus. Look at, shut it down. You guys clearly, you know, and you talked about Ben Carson. You know what? I'm glad Ben Carson did nothing. All right. I want them all to do nothing. I'd rather them do nothing. Although I will say that Sleepy Ben did end the Obama era. You know, they wanted to basically integrate the suburbs and convert them and bring all these Section 8 housing into the suburbs, you know, force them. In other words, hey, you want to build a house over here? You want to build development? You got to build a Section 8 development over here or you do not get the permits. So at least Ben Carson did that. That was one good thing he did. But you know what? Washington's broken for sure. We can eliminate these cabinet positions and we could consolidate, you know, HUD, HHS, Commerce, Interior, all into one, the Department of Domestic Services, and cut the people and move it out of Washington, D.C. That's never going to happen, unfortunately, not with Trump. Certainly not with any of the Democrats. But if we don't get a vision for this country, and I'm not talking about a opportunist revolutionary vision. I'm talking about a true vision that goes back to what our founding fathers saw our country as and make that the goal. That is the target, and that's how we're going to get there. All of this, these are just platitudes. You know, it's talking points. You know, Trump, right? But we're going to have all deportation. You know what? I love it. But you know what? You didn't have that vision. You had that talking point, but you didn't have a vision how to do it in the first 4 years. How can we expect it's going to happen? Look, we need some serious changes in Washington. We need serious changes in our own communities. And I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't see it happening. I just don't.
Right. And it says right here, while we talked about Mayorkas, it says, breaking report, House Committee Republicans unanimously vote to impeach Mayorkas. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. What do we think, Jim?
I haven't studied it too much.
Oh, a dog and pony show. You know,
well, first of all, we don't even need a Homeland Security.
Right.
The guy's an ass clown, but the entire department is a squandering mess anyway.
Whoever goes in his place is going to do the same damn thing.
No, it should be eliminated. We need to get rid of Homeland Security. It's another waste of money.
I agree. We need to get rid of all the departments.
Let's cut to the chase. My understanding, and I've been meaning to research this, the federal government is paying private organizations to bring these, whatever they are called, in. Can we end that? Can the Republican Party, which hasn't eliminated a single progressive program since 1913, can we stop paying private organizations to bring?
They control the money. Yes.
In here? And the answer is no, because the GOP is a fraud scheme.
Right.
Yeah, but you're saying can. They can. They just won't.
They won't.
Can they? Yes, they sure as hell can. They control all the money, but they won't.
They're bought and paid for too and have no balls.
The federal government taxes people and they give the money to private organizations to bring these people over the border and then pay for them when they get here.
It says right here.
Even if you're an open borders libertarian like the Cato Institute, can we at least agree we shouldn't be doing that?
Right.
I mean, look in New York. They're begging them not to send them anymore. I love it.
And we're paying them. We're paying. We're giving them money to come here and to sustain.
It's disgusting when we have homeless veterans and veterans struggling to get care, and we have people paying for $5 for like a half a gallon of milk. Moms, single moms who are working all day and got to come home and make food for their children, and then they're almost being taxed out of their home. A lot. That's what's really bad problem. You know,
this is part of a global movement. It's the homogenization of the planet.
Exactly.
And
own nothing and be happy.
It's all about redistribution of wealth and making everybody look the same. And this is what the people in Davos right now are discussing. Exactly. And why is it that, you know, when you're taking these climate people that are migrating to escape climate change, why the hell are they all coming to the United States of America? I mean, why do we get them all? because it's
Yeah.
not about any of that. It's about fundamental change. And that's what they're ushering in. And you know what I've said for a long time, not only is it the obvious, they want to create a permanent Democrat Party, but they also, what most people don't realize is they want to create a massive expansion of the federal government. And that's exactly what is happening. Look at the billions of dollars that these states are now requiring from the federal government and getting. And it's just getting more people sucked on the government. You're getting more government debt. And every dollar that the government spends is $1 of our own freedom and liberty that they're buying back. And it's not just about the permanent Democrat Party. Yes, that's part of it. But it's about the expansion and the gross expansion of the federal government. And that's happening without people realizing.
One world order. That's what
and it says right here, speaking of spending, the Senate advanced another short-term spending bill this afternoon.
So
Rand Paul wanted to amend the bill, but yeah, they weren't going for that. Rand Paul is always the good guy. He's always the one that's rational and doesn't want to spend and wants to be the voice of reason. But all these other ass clown politicians are just like spend. They don't care.
Nope.
Yeah, real quick. I know gold was down a little bit the last couple of days, but gold was up today, 2,000 an ounce. You know, kind of maybe look to invest some money there. That's what I've been doing a little bit, just to give people a heads up on speaking of economy and what to do.
Yeah, it's not so much an investment, so much as protect. It's the only real money. If you want money and you want to protect your money, you better buy gold and silver, because everything else is just worthless paper. You can wipe your butt with it.
Amen.
Jim, what were you saying?
I got to run,
Tell
guys.
everybody where they can find you and get involved, Jim.
I'm on Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, libertymovement.org.
Sounds good, buddy.
See
We'll
you
talk
guys
the Bills
next
game.
week.
See you, Jim.
All right, buddy. God bless. Take care. Talk to you soon. But yeah, guys. So what were we talking about?
We're talking about how the entire country's going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
You know, here's what I'm going to kind of shift gears and stay on the topic. There is a building, an iconic building in downtown Chicago that not many years ago, 5 years ago, I think was bought for $51 million. It was auctioned for $2 million. Apparently they didn't get any bids. They're trying to get $4 million. This is a 20+ story building, an iconic building. $2 million. This is crazy. There are houses that are, you know, on little lots that are more than $2 million. There's a house in Manhattan. The price, the original mortgage for 10 years was $600 million. If you will take over the payments right now, the mortgage, which outstanding $120 million, you can have the building. It's like 60 stories, $120 million, Manhattan. What we are on the precipice of is utter disaster. Now, what I can't predict is how far this Federal Reserve is going to be, how far Joe Biden, with his power of the pen and executive order, how far they will go to bail it out. Look, we had I love Donald Trump. Great. This is a guy who is throwing trillions of dollars out of helicopters. If a Republican is going to do it in the midst of a crisis, how much more will these radical Marxist progressive leftists in the Biden administration? So I'll tell you, just be ready. You thought inflation was bad at 9.1%. Be ready to revisit that and then some.
Oh yeah, dude.
Great Depression.
Bill, you have any thoughts?
As I listen to Greg, everything he's saying is the same things I wrote in my book in 2014 and 2015. I mean, you're almost like you're reading my book back to me in what you're saying, and so. I have no disagreement with it at all. I just have been laying low on it, I guess, and not talking about it a whole lot. But hey, we're really at a crossroads with this country this year, and the apathy of the voters is another problem. I talk to so many people that are just completely clueless. They don't even know who's running or anything like that. It's hard to believe.
You know, and if nothing else, you know, we can look back. If nothing else, where you say, well, we've always had these problems. But if nothing else, you look to the debt service cost. We're now going to be $1 trillion just to pay the interest on our debt. We've never been in that position before. We're servicing the debt with such a huge percentage of government revenues and tax receipts. We've never been there before. That's why we're at that point where this is serious. You know, we talked about, well, we've been spending deficit spending for many years. We've never been at this point where we're going to spend $1 trillion, and that's going to be $2 trillion. Just blink your eye. The service on the debt's going to be $2 trillion. And before 2030, I'm confident, because by then we're going to be $50 trillion in debt. You know, 3-4 years ago, the average interest rate on our debt was 1.8%. It's now 3.1%.
Yeah.
You know, do the math. $26 trillion of the debt that we're paying interest on times 3.1%. That's a lot of money. Now take 4%, because interest rates are now, they're refinancing all this debt at a higher rate, 5.25%, hundreds of billions of dollars getting refinanced every month. Now do the math on that at 50 trillion at 4% average, 4.5%. I mean, that's $2+ trillion just to pay the interest. We are headed there. It's not a thing like, maybe. That's where we are going. And at some point you break through the ice, you crash, and you freeze and drown.
Yep.
And really, Greg, what's happening when I wrote my book 2020 A Clear Vision for America, I talked about all this. I wrote it down, and at that time,
Sounds like you read it in the Bible.
Our percentage of the budget, the percentage of the budget was great, and that's why I said that we can't afford to continue this way. Now we're seeing that it's still even a higher percentage of the budget, but there's something happening here. For example, our national debt, we know, is 34 trillion and it's climbing. Our GDP is 26 trillion, and it was always said that if the national debt exceeds the GDP, we're in trouble.
Oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in trouble. That's why I'm saying I think that we have a recession coming on.
No,
somebody mentioned something about hospitals. On the news today, there's a hospital, one of the major hospitals in Denver is going bankrupt. They don't have any money because they've lost $130 million just in the past year because they're taking care of migrants. To me, I call them invaders. They're taking care of invaders free of charge, and they can't afford to do it any longer.
It's crazy.
And
we're killing ourselves. You know, I always say, America, a country once blessed with so many people, willing to die for their nation, is becoming a nation willing to die for the people. All these crazy, insane programs and agendas and policies. We're killing America for these people and those people and them people. What good is America if we're dead? I mean, the world feeds off American prosperity. You get rid of American prosperity and American exceptionalism, there's nothing left to give. Though the rest of the world is not giving like America, because no country exports more hope, more freedom, more of its fiscal treasure, more of its blood, sweat, and tears, and its soldiers, the blood and lives of its servicemen. Nobody like America. When America goes, the world goes. And these people are hell-bent on taking America down and just making us all the same, because they're never going to come down from the ivory tower. They're never going to be subjected to the draconian liberty misery that you and I are going to be subjected to. And that's the problem with these people. And, I think America is starting to wake up. I just don't know if we have the power to be able to make changes. When you've got Republicans that are supposed to be MAGA conservatives that are pushing a climate agenda behind your back, it's just difficult to fight against these people. And, as much as Trump talked about draining the swamp, it's almost an impossible task. It's like, we're never going to pay the debt. I'm sorry. It just got out of control. In 2000, it was $2 trillion. It was a possibility, but at 34 trillion, it's just never going to happen. So, all you can do is hopefully manage the crisis and hold on, and because a collapse comes. You don't do this and keep doing it. When the debt to GDP ratio exceeds 90%, you stifle economic growth by 30%. That is the well-known economic numbers. We're at 126% debt to GDP. You've got countries all over the world. You got Japan, it's at 250%. This is a global problem. It's certainly a U.S. problem, but the difference in the U.S. is the world relies on the U.S. as a consumption economy. And when we go, the rest of the world just falls like a domino.
That is the reason why it's a fight so hard to keep the borders open. That's why the Biden administration, the DOJ, whoever's behind the puppet there, that's why they're fighting it in this bill, to make sure that they don't secure the border, because If they do, then that shuts down our replacements basically, and they want to destroy this whole country, this America, and that's why they're fighting hard to keep that border open as well. Do you think they'll put Merck? Do you think they'll get it done in this bill or what?
Well, the problem with these misfits is, I don't want more people at the border. Here's my argument. It's contrarian. I don't want more people. I don't want more officers at the damn border. Unless you're sending the military with rifles to say, you come over that wall, you're getting shot. You're not coming in this country. Push back. Because all the people are going to do there is be processors. The last thing I want them sitting in the freezing cold, freeze their ass off. Maybe, they don't even make it. I like that because the last thing I want to do is make that get 12 gates open and get everybody through. It's like going a toll. We come across a bridge. The traffic gets back way the hell up there and you hate it. Like open more gates, get more people collecting the toll over there. That's what they want to do. They want to open more toll gates, but I don't want that to happen. I want the damn traffic to back up so far that you can't get out of Central America. That's what I want. And the only thing they're going to do with securing the border is sending more jackasses down there to give them their pink slips to show up in 2032. You know what? I just assume let them wait out there in the freezing cold and think, this kind of sucks. I'm going to call my friends back in Sierra Leone and say, don't come. This is kind of a shit show.
Yeah. Amen, brother.
Amen.
You're preaching tonight, Greg. I love it, man.
Woo! In regards to these wars, Greg, don't you think a lot of these wars we're getting into are desperation because of what's going on with the economy?
They want to make money, the military-industrial complex.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of things. I don't think there's one.
That's a factor, right? Wouldn't you put that among the reasons?
Of what to
just various wars that we're getting into. I mean, a lot of times people say it can be because of desperation, the collapse of the dollar,
well, I mean, a lot of times, look, they get out of it. You want to get out of a financial crisis, you start a war. I think a lot of it is kind of a misunderstanding of Vladimir Putin and what his agenda. And I think kind of over analyzing his ambitions. I think it's kind of, we want to think it's pretty simple. I think that, putting the Biden administration into, if they really were what they say, then he would have been negotiating a peace deal instead of let thousands of people die for the last, 2 years, however long this war has been. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, in the Middle East, that's the place is imploding. Why wars are happening there? Because Muslims have hated Jews for, since the 5th century, and long before there were Muslims, when they were just Arabs, descendants of Ishmael, they've hated Jews. So, but the real problem is the reason why we have all these wars and these things is, again, the world follows America's lead. When we are strong, when we are a strong economy, strong leadership, the world respects us. They stay in line. And all these things are happening because of the fecklessness in our own government. Because Joe Biden is a pathetically weak person. He's weak mentally. He's weak intellectually for sure. And he's certainly weak cognitively and physically. So why wouldn't the world just be going and doing whatever the hell they want? Why wouldn't Putin take this opportunity to invade? And the only thing stopping China was China's reliance on American idiots buying all their Chinese crap. But as soon as they can get off of that and solve that problem, they're going to march right into Taiwan and say, welcome home.
And when do you think that's actually going to happen? We've been trying to make predictions and we just don't have, I guess, enough information, enough insight.
Well, no, because a lot of that is
and we know they're sneaky. We know that they're.
A lot of that Xi Jinping. I think that when they solve their own economic problems, now that could accelerate their desire to do an invasion because it's like, hey, it kind of helps us, take over Taiwan, get all that money, all that. So it could either accelerate the decision to invade or delay it until they fix their own problem. But I'll tell you, they're going to try to fix their problem, their economic. And they've got a huge problem, a real estate problem. And here's how they're going to fix it. They're going to export every piece of crap sitting in their Chinese warehouses that are all junk garbage. All those parts that you fix and the things that manufacturers use. China's going to put all their shit on the market. They're going to ship all that junk because I'm telling you, it's like the lid is off on this. They got to sell everything. And they're going to dig deep into whether it's garments, whether it's electronics. You're going to see all that old technology crap. It's going to be sold. They got to raise money. They got to sell. And not only are they going to export all their junk, They're going to export their problems. And I don't know what that's. Maybe it's a new pandemic. Maybe it's a new virus. But they are not going to go it alone. I've said this many times. China does not go through these trials and tribulations by themselves. It's the whole world's going to go down with us. They're never going to jump on the sword. They didn't do it with COVID. It was a problem. I believe an accidental escape. Regardless, they sure as hell weren't going to weather the COVID storm alone. They shut down their own cities while they exported this virus to the rest of the world, because you know what? If we're going to suffer, we all suffer. That's the way these rotten Chinese communists think. So they're going to export their junk and they're going to export their problems.
Yeah, and what happens in the long run to China? I mean, do you think they come back and still be the powerhouse that they once were? Or do you think it's...
I think they've got a lot of systemic problems, you know, with the their reproduction laws, you know, having children, the fact that they culturally
you can only have one kid, right?
Well, some families, yes, some can, some can't. But the problem is as a culture, even as a culture, the son, the boy's parents are the ones that you take care of. So you have a son, you get old, you're 90 years old, you get taken care of. So when your son goes and gets married to the woman, you don't take care of the woman's parents, you take care of the son's parents. So, and this is a reality. So over the years, you know, the decades, you know, I got a girl, I'm going to abort the girl, I want to have a son, you know, because you got two people having kids, like they don't want to be stuck out in the cold. You know, they want a boy because they need to be taken care of. That is a cultural problem. That's one of the many systemic problems in that society. Also, communism doesn't work. Eventually, it rears its ugly head. It shows you the ugly underbelly of what communism is. It doesn't work. It doesn't raise all, it's not the tide that raises all ships. Eventually, it falls apart. We saw it in the Soviet Union. Now, I mean, will we see it sooner rather than later in China? I don't know. But I do know that communism doesn't work, and it's not going to work there no more than it hasn't worked anywhere else in the world. They just are such a massive economy that's kept afloat by people all over the world that just want to get their cheap crap and use their cheap labor. But eventually that runs out. So I think this may be the beginning of the end of China's really kind of dominance in the world. I don't know how they recover from this. It's too systemic. And it's the chickens have come home to roost there, and I don't know how you don't reverse these trends.
Communism and Marxism always fails, and it's going to fail and crumble and be done.
So what you're saying is we're not going to see as much stuff saying "made in China" anymore.
No, I say we're going to see everything made in China. It's all coming out, all the crap. I'm telling you.
No, but I know. But eventually, in the long term, you don't think they're going to be You don't think they're going to be the manufacturing powerhouse that we once knew them to be. I
think you're going to start seeing made in India, made in Pakistan, made in Mexico.
Yeah, all these places. Yeah, Philippines. It goes on.
Malaysia.
Right.
Yeah. So South America, I mean, you know, Argentina, they got this new guy in Argentina. He wants to rebuild, man. This guy's
awesome, Greg. Well, think about it. Think about the good in this. Think about the beauty in this. We're taking away all this shit from a horrible country, and we're allowing all these other countries to have an even playing field where they each get a piece of it. And it's not going to be as dominated anymore by just China, if that makes any sense. Yeah, it feels like China was taking 90% of it for as long as we can remember, and now all these other countries are going to get their chance.
It's trying to get the free and fair trade.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you know, sometimes people got to get burned before they.
But is that fair to say? What I just?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the way things are going to happen. And a lot of it is going to be accelerated because people are getting burned. I mean, Elon Musk getting burned big time. I mean, China has stole all of his secrets, all of his plans. They're selling like a knockoff Tesla. And they're the biggest car exporter. You mentioned that last week. They're the biggest car exporter in the world now. And you know what, serves you right, Elon? You want to go up there and sell your cars? Look, anybody that does business in China, you better know they're going to knock you off or sell your crap right out the back door. It's just going to happen. You know, it's funny. You got this. There's a new, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Temu, Temu.com, T-E-M-U.
Yes, of course. yeah, Temu, yeah.
I mean, Chinese shit. That's what it is.
Temu.
You could buy Yeezy slides. You know those ugly ass Yeezy slides.
Yeah, but they're not the same. You've already.
Dude, I'm going to tell you how the same they are. They're $5, okay, versus 120. I'm sure. I know. I get it. But that's Chinese shit for you. They knock you off, and it's garbage. It's junk, but people will buy it. People buy that crap. You know, go to a store called Harbor Freight. It's one of the most, I think, vile stores ever because everything in there is made in China. I mean, you buy nails. You know, you think you hammer a nail into some balsa wood, you know, it's going to stay straight. A nail can't even stay straight in balsa wood. The most cheap garbage tools, but the place is packed. But you know, the one thing, when I needed some tools, I went in there. You know, one thing that struck me is literally, I looked over at the counters, the checkout counters. There were more people in the return counters than there were in the checkout counters. That tells you something. That's made in China for you.
And we've known China, for the most part, to have really good, top of the notch leaders. You know, so obviously that's not to blame for their demise, right?
Oh, look at evil people. You know what I mean? These are communist people that don't give a damn about your people. You can't not care about your people for decades and expect everything just to keep on going the way it is. You can't oppress your people. I mean, the lockdowns and shutdowns. Look, there are millions of Chinese people that are extremely unhappy.
I understand from a humanitarian standpoint, they're not good leaders.
But I'm talking about leaders, though. These are bad leaders.
From an economic standpoint, though, they've always been ahead of the curve and on top of everybody else, it feels like. And just
let me tell you a story about Chinese leadership. Remember a guy by the name of Mao Zedong?
Mao Zedong. He was a murdering thug.
Yeah, but I'm separating the humanitarian and the economic.
No, wait a minute. I want to tell you a story about why I don't think their leadership is as competent or as intelligent as you say they are. Here's a guy who created this whole communist country. He's a leader that they're all emulating. They all want to do what he did. Okay, back around, I think it was around 1960, Mao Zedong decided that he didn't like sparrows. They're kind of ugly little birds or pests or whatever. So we had this whole bird kill thing where they killed all the small birds in China, right? Got rid of all of them. Okay. So then what happened was the birds weren't around to eat any of the insects anymore. So now the insects take over, and all of a sudden, all the crops are eaten up by insects. Now China goes into a massive drought and a massive hunger period. Okay. Now, is that competent leadership? That's just one example of the kind of leadership they've had. And China still imports is the largest wheat importer, aren't they now? And they're buying up our farmland. Why are they buying our farmland and Smithfield and everybody? Because they can't feed their own people because they don't know how to do anything over there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like killing all the birds. I mean, how stupid was that? I mean, even Biden wouldn't come up with "we're going to kill all the small birds in America."
Well, don't count him out.
Well, and they also, I mean, look at what we just talked about.
I just want to clear up what I was saying. I'm referring to world dominance economically, and even though they've been horrible in the humanitarian area, I think it's fair to say, for as long as we can remember, economically, they've been dominating the world, and I think that's due to them having pretty damn good leaders.
I disagree. It's been due to them having 1 billion slaves. You know what? If you had people working in your factory,
you can have slaves, but you also have to guide those slaves and tell them what to do.
But you're talking about economic dominance. Yeah, but you're talking about economic dominance. I mean, if you had a company where everybody building your widgets was a slave, it's all profit. I mean, of course you dominate the market. You know, you don't have to pay your people anything.
Asians are also the smartest class, though. Don't forget that.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, look, they're resourceful, but look, I think that I think the class of people, the Jews, have shown themselves to be far more intellectually smarter than anybody when you look at all of the inventions in the world. But, you know, the thing is they're like ants. You get a million ants, man. They do some tremendous things. You know, the weight size, the weight ratio, they do tremendous things. But when you got a billion people, you can do these things. Look, we can't compete with slave labor. We just can't. That doesn't make them more economically powerful. It just gives them the advantage. And to Bill's point, not only did they kill sparrows that created problems, you know, they're killing the girls. So the boys, the men don't have women to marry, which is causing huge, huge systemic problems. These are not smart people. These are I mean, resourceful people, but not that I say like brilliant in terms of creating the great America, like what we did in the Industrial Revolution. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to, you know, bury your people into the ground. Look, we could be doing great too if we just locked everybody in their house and we gave them rice and some dirty water to live on. And hey, that's good enough for you until we got, you know, we'd do great like that too if we didn't give a damn about our people.
Do we have an exact number of how many people they kill every year?
Paid them 50 cents a day while we steal all the technology from America on the internet. They got all of our secrets. So how intelligent are they if they need to steal all of our technology and all of our information? I don't get it, Greg. I mean, Rory, I don't understand where you're coming from on this because I don't see that at all. And I agree with Greg. You know, you know, if you're going to make something and you're thinking, well, they're making stuff like we manufacture here, where we manufacture high quality products that meet all kinds of standards. What they make over there is not high quality, doesn't meet any standards. And where we might need 10 people to produce a certain amount of goods, they might have 100 of them that they're paying 50 cents a day to sit around on the floor someplace and do crap. I've seen videos of them. I mean, they're manufacturing and assembly processes are nothing but labor intensive cluster Fs.
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm well aware that the quality of products that come from China are lousy, but that still doesn't dismiss the fact that they sell more of these products.
Because people want $10, they want to spend $1. They don't realize they're going to have to buy 15 of those products.
It's not cost effective. It's cheap. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You want to measure the greatness and the economic prowess of a country. Look at the standard of living of individuals. That is where the United States of America is so much greater than the entire world. And this, because I've been around the world. I remember when I was in Bulgaria talking to the squadron commander. He wanted to know where we live. Look, I had a 2,000 square foot house. I was a lieutenant in the Navy. He couldn't believe it. He was literally living in a shack. It was on the third floor. It's just this tiny apartment with his 4 kids and his wife. Look, we have more square foot per family. That, of course, is shrinking because America, which our own personal economics are shrinking thanks to the spending. But for the last 50 years, Americans have enjoyed a standard of living that the world dreams of. Oh, by the way, that's why the world comes here. We've got bigger houses. We've got bigger cars. We've got bigger banking. We got bigger everything. And you go to these countries, and I've been to all these countries. I've been to Asia, all over China, Korea, Thailand. They live in these little tiny shacks, if they have that at all. Europeans live in these tiny apartments or these little houses. You know, if they have a house that's 150 years old, nobody lives like the United States of America because we have the most powerful economy in the world that the world has ever known. And how do I know that? Just look at the average American, how he lives. Notwithstanding the fact that has been in a downward spiral for the last decade. But you look at the last 50 years, nobody lives like Americans. Who drives big giant cars like a 72 Impala? It gets gallons to the miles, not miles to the gallons. Nobody in the world drives these kind of cars, but we do in America.
Sounded like a rap, Merc. Hit it again, miles to miles.
I want to bring up this report that came out today. A new bill coming out of the state of Maine allows authorities to take kids away from parents who resist transgendering children.
Yeah.
A bill being debated in Maine state legislature would give authorities the power to take children away from parents who oppose allowing medical providers to impose gender-affirming care onto their children.
Yeah.
Well,
wow.
And also in California, can I say something related to similar to that?
Yeah.
And yet, so they're okay for body mutilation, but yet when it comes to football in California, they want to ban
Right.
contact football for
Right.
kids like 10 and under or
Yeah.
13 and
12
under,
and
whatever
under.
it is, because of concussions. But yet you can go get your dick chopped off or something, or your breast. It's all sickening. It's just it's so hypocritical and demonic. That's why yeah.
And they've already passed that law. We're already beyond that law because there's a father. I listened to him on Glenn Beck. He has gotten restraining order. He can't see his kids. He's banned from seeing his kids because he doesn't recognize his son as a girl. And,
I
you know,
remember
again,
that.
this is not.
I listened to that. I remember.
Yes, it's just sickening. It's sad because it's not about these stupid asinine 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. What the hell do they know?
Yeah.
It's these ignorant parents who want a virtue signal and who are sick-minded people. Sick-minded people.
Yep.
You know, that you would do that to your little boy. I mean, or your little girl. It's just these are sick mental people, and they want to make it about them. You know, look at me. Look at my kid. This is my little girl. And I know he's got a penis, but he's a girl, and I support that. Yeah, you know. Okay, good. So come back and talk to me when your kid's 22 and he kills himself.
Yep. They want their ESG score to go up, Merc.
No.
What a crazy time. Bill, do you have any thoughts on that? No transgender.
I think you guys all know how I feel about all this. I mean, it's just gone beyond anything we ever could have imagined. What we thought was normal is now abnormal, and they're trying to convince us that this new abnormal is normal behavior. Hopefully this won't go anyplace, but it looks like it's becoming fashionable to transgenderism. It's unbelievable. I agree with whatever you said. I double and redouble your estimation of it being evil.
Sounds good.
You know, the sad fact is, you know, yesterday's conversation becomes today's agenda and tomorrow's reality. All these things were talked about years and years ago. Yeah. And then they became part of the agenda, and now it's the reality. And, you know, you look at all these crazy things right now in Davos, they're talking about what they call ecocide. So this is a movement now where they want to make it criminal and international law prosecute anybody who damages the environment. And this is where we're going. So if you chop down a tree, you know, you're a criminal. And they're talking about agriculture. They're talking about logging in the lumber industry. I mean, you can't touch the planet. These people despise humankind. Humankind, not themselves, because they're good people. But they want to kill all of you and get the planet with
They're
less
going to
people.
dictate trade too, which is going to affect us all the way to here as well.
Right. It says right here, NATO will launch next week its biggest military exercises in decades, with around 90,000 personnel set to take part in months-long war games aimed at showing that the alliance can defend all of its territory up to its border with Russia. What do we have in regards to this? Any thoughts?
I think they're trying to push World War III, you know, Civil War II. They want to create chaos. They want to create fear. They want to create ways to just keep control. You know, it's a way to make, you know, get the military involved and maybe pursue martial law type things.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, look, if this is,
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying they want to create that.
Yeah, NATO's days are numbered. I think this is about relevance. We got to maintain our relevance. You know, they want to saber rattle. See, look at us. This is what we need. Look, NATO, there's talk. I mean, think about it. You've got Donald Trump, who is way ahead in the polls, could very well be, and hopefully will be, the next president of the United States, who said, you know, he's already said, you know, NATO is a waste of U.S. dollars. NATO is teetering. You know, if America pulls out of NATO, I mean, then all their gravy stops. I think this is about them trying to show their relevance. Hey, man, come on, look at us. Check us out. We're still relevant here. We got a job to do, you know, and plus, you know, got to spend that money, got to use that money.
Yeah, they're all sucking off the teeth of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if
Trump show their importance
and he pulls us out of NATO, which I think he could, Canada will jump ship
Oh, he
as
would.
well.
He did.
And then NATO is gone. It's history. So, but anyway, as far as exercises are concerned, Greg and I are familiar with this. Military operations have scheduled exercises, like in the Marine Corps when I was in. Every 2 years there was a Westpac
Deployment.
deployment. No, not deployment, but exercise in Southern California. I was even
workouts
sent
and
from
training to get ready.
Okinawa to go to support this in Southern California. And, this is something that happens all the time. There's always training exercises going on and war games and so forth. And they're usually scheduled years in advance. So what's going to happen on this one? They've probably been playing that for 6, 8, 10 years, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, maybe longer than that. Look, when I was in Korea, I was there for a year. It was my remote tour. They do the UFL, ultra focused lens. They do it every single year. There are a couple of other exercises every single year. It's just a bunch of nonsense anyway, but it's showing, hey, this is what we do over here.
Yeah.
We got to prove ourselves why we're here. And the fact of the matter is these countries never really learned to do it on their own anyway. I mean, we're probably going on 45, maybe 50 years of UFL. It's the exact same exercise, pretty much. And yet, after 40 years, you'd think that the South Korean military would actually run it. They don't. They just sit and shadow us, and we do everything. But, and the same with NATO. This is going to be probably a primarily U.S. operation type thing. You know what, NATO? You want to do all the exercises you want. Do it on your own dime, not on ours.
That's right.
Yeah. And a new report came out. I want to bring this up. You guys are going to be really mind blown. What a big shocker, right? Union watchdog claims prominent teachers union spent millions on politics instead of representing its members. Well, duh. Of course.
No way. Get out.
Of course. A watchdog analysis of funds spent by the National Education Association and American Federation of Teachers Unions over the last year discovered millions of dollars were prioritized for political purposes instead of supporting teachers and students.
Of course.
Americans for Fair Treatment, a national nonprofit organization supporting public employees, found that the NEA spent $10 million more on politics and lobbying than it did representing its members. Similarly, the AFT spent $46.9 million on politics in 2023, 11.2 million increase from the previous reporting period, according to the analysis provided exclusively to the Washington Examiner. The filings from the Department of Labor found that the AFT spent 14% of its dues on political activities and lobbying, and that the NEA spent 10% on the same thing. To compare, 27% of AFT and nearly 8% of NEA spending went towards representational activities, the category most similar to labor representation, which the watchdog said is the primary job of a labor union. Greg, your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, that's like somebody coming out with a report that Hunter Biden was not qualified to, advise Burisma. Yeah, no kidding.
Right.
Look, unions are Marxist organizations anyway.
Yes,
and one of the most egregious violators of American liberty is the teachers union. They're not about education. They never have been. They're about control and power and money and wealth redistribution.
Damn right.
Yeah. Bill, you have thoughts on this? I know you've talked.
Yeah. Here's another aspect of this, of that last $1.9 trillion COVID bill.
Yeah.
Apparently what they're saying is about 90% or more than 90% of that is going to go to the top 10%, which means that the teachers unions and the government employees unions and so forth, all the donors of the Democrat Party are going to get the biggest share, 90% or maybe 100% of that $1.9 trillion. Maybe not this year, but over the next few years, that's what it's going to be. So that kind of plays into the fact that the AFT and NEA, they're all involved in collecting dues from their members to lobby with the government, pay for Democrat candidates and so forth, because that's what keeps them in power. If the Democrats weren't in power for 20 years, the teachers union would be gone because they wouldn't have any money.
Right. And it says right here, well, actually, Brian, you have thoughts on this as well?
About the teachers union? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Merck said it well. They are a Marxist organization, just like many unions are. They're not the blood, sweat, and tears, blue collar people anymore. Yeah, I agree with Merck. We can move on from there. I'll comment on the next one.
Yeah, I want to bring this up. This was breaking yesterday. No Labels, a new party called No Labels, recognized as a political party in Kansas. Kansas making a move. Third-party organization No Labels scored a victory on Wednesday when Kansas announced it would be recognized as a political party in the state.
No.
Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab said in a release that No Labels Kansas met the requirements to become a political party. The news is another step in the right direction for the group's nationwide mission to get on the 2024 ballot in all 50 states. Schwab said the party was able to submit a petition of collected registered voter signatures equal to 2% of the total votes cast in the 2022 gubernatorial general election. The last political party to achieve recognition in Kansas was Americans Elect in 2012, which lost recognition a year later after failing to nominate any candidate in the 2012 elections.
This is Manchin's deal.
Rory, I think this is a push for a convention of the
state. And now it says here, No Labels will join the Libertarian Party, recognized in Kansas in 1992 as a minor political party on the ballot. Kansas voter registration forms have already been modified to include No Labels Kansas as a choice for the voter affiliation. Though No Labels can't participate in the August primary election, it must nominate candidates by convention or caucus. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a push for the convention of states, start taking things back locally. I like it. That sounds, and that's where I see a lot of this also going.
What does Merck think about this?
No Labels is Joe Manchin's political affiliation. He's the one that's behind all this No Labels stuff.
Well, I don't know about that one, but I think there's a push for convention of states, though.
Well, yeah, but that's not the No Labels. No Labels.
Okay. Well, I don't know that one. Sorry.
And some of his cohorts have been pretty much, I guess you might say, barnstorming the country to see if they can garner some support. And apparently they got it in Kansas.
Gotcha. Wait, you have any thoughts, Craig?
Look, all this no labels, no labels.
No labels.
Yeah, it's Republican versus Democrat.
Yeah,
everything else is just noise.
Yeah, the Republicans and Democrats, they got the franchises. You can't break into their league. That's a two league.
Right, because if any party was ever going to do anything, it would be the Libertarians, and they haven't really done anything that's big enough.
Party needs to rise again,
make a difference, or But all these other parties that are coming in now, I just think it's
the system is rigged.
Useless. It's not the smartest move. But go ahead.
It's demonic and rigged for sure.
What were you saying, Bill? Bill?
What's that? No, I was just going to say the system's rigged. The fix is in. It's Democrats versus Republicans. All the rest of them kind of come and go. Like the Libertarians, they've never been able to get more than 5% of the vote in any one election in any one state, and it's impossible to get candidates on the ballots because the Democrats and Republicans have set it up. They fixed it so you can't do that.
Right, that's true. It's true, and we have right here another article, which is this guy has some nerve. Maxwell Frost, who's in Congress, is calling on the GOP to introduce a bill to remove the Statue of Liberty. Maxwell Frost, a Democrat out of Florida, called on his fellow Republican lawmakers to introduce a bill that removes the Statue of Liberty because of their support for H.R. 2, known as Secure the Border Act of 2023, that would make sweeping policy changes to border security and immigration laws.
Wow. That was a political stunt. It ain't going anyplace.
No.
He came out in their meeting today. Came out with this great big red sign, and then he had one of his staff take it was like on an easel, and take the top half, which was a Liberty officer. All you could see was the bottom half. The guy's a joke. He's just a young black guy who's an airhead who has no idea whatsoever. And they've been talking about this for decades. It's not going to go anyplace. So it's just a political stunt for him just to get some publicity.
Yeah. He's attention grabbing, headline grabbing. He's pathetic. He's insecure. Look at me. He comes up with this because the guy can't come up with anything. Anything's going to make the country better. And that's the Democrats' problem. They have no real solutions. All they've got is these agenda issues, these the hot topic button issues, and they've gotten no solutions. Nothing will come of it, but like I say, today, soon, but eventually this becomes a reality. It's a conversation today. It becomes the agenda. And then one day, maybe we are tearing down the Statue of Liberty.
That's what President Trump said. They're going to come after every statue.
Yeah.
I think we should kind of address the Nome affair thing. Apparently it's Lewandowski. You remember Lewandowski?
Corey Lewandowski?
Yeah, Corey Lewandowski. Apparently, they have been having an affair, which she vehemently denies, as does he. But the story comes from the Daily Wire, and a guy who's a known hack. He's a known hack, and he's a big Bernie Sanders AOC supporter. And I think that this kind of thing, what that tells me is that they're really afraid of Kristi Noem.
What's the reporter? What's the reporter's name? I can't remember. Don't forget, Corey Lewandowski dated Hope Hicks.
Yeah, I was going to say, he got Hope
Corey Lewandowski has gotten around, so it would not surprise me.
Wow.
That would not surprise
me. But what does that have to do with her policies?
That kind of stuff happens in politics constantly.
They're trying to soil her reputation because if Trump picks her.
You know what, Greg? You know what? I mean, you have to remember that there could be this persona where she has to pretend that she's this family woman, but in reality, they could have an open marriage and they just don't disclose it.
But she denies that, and she calls it a disgusting article, and it's false. It's a tabloid lie.
I guess we'll really never know.
Well, I think we'll know that because she's the kind of person that if it's true, if it's not true, she's going to do. Like George H.W. Bush, they accused him of having an affair, and he's like, whatever, move on.
With Rice, I think he was with that cop. What's her name? Rice. What's her first name?
Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah, I think they did have an affair.
No, it wasn't about that, and he just was like, no, and he didn't even dignify it.
Story?
Yeah, there was always rumors going around that George W. Bush was sleeping with her. There was always
George H.W. Bush.
The son. W.
The son, really?
No, I mean, look, that's just.
I didn't know.
Yeah, like don't believe everything you read. And
I've never heard that one before either. That one seems pretty implausible.
Wow.
So, I mean, what do we make of the Nome thing? But if this came out 6 months ago, I don't understand.
No, it came out a while back when she just before she endorsed Donald Trump. So it was all about soiling her right at the time when she endorsed Trump. It's all about kind of attacking her. I think, look, if she comes in, it's because, look, it's not true. Only this is the reality. Only the truth has the power to offend. If it's true, she'll be offended and she'll shy away. But if it's not true, she's not going to be offended and she's going to continue to press forward. If Trump says, be my VP, she's going to go in there full bore and say, look, this is just nonsense. You want to be some clown that supports AOC and, writes for some hack piece in Bernie Sanders? Go have at it. They're always going to say it. He could get freaking Mother Teresa and they're going to claim that she, worked in the red light district.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who they pick, but who they make lies about shows you the ones they're most afraid of.
Right. Yes, sir.
I just came across an interesting statistic. 56 million Americans over 65 make up just 17% of the U.S. population, but they hold more than half of America's wealth at $96.4 trillion.
Yeah, we own all the real estate.
What?
We own all the real estate and the 401ks and the
Of
IRAs.
course. I mean, what do you think? 25-year-olds got a pot to piss in? 36, 40 years old, they're living in the basement.
That's an interesting stat, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't, that doesn't, you could have guessed that. I mean, look, people, when you retire, you save, retire, you got 5 million in the bank, 10 million in the bank, your house is paid off. Of course you're going to have all the wealth, Well, you're 35 and you're still trying to make it and you got a $350,000 mortgage, 400,000. Of course. Or look, if that wasn't the case, something's wrong. What the hell would be wrong with us? What's wrong with America if that wasn't the case?
A new report out today, according to Axios, which is a well-known news outlet, new cancer diagnosis expected to hit a record high in the U.S. this year, driven in large part by an alarming increase in cancers among younger Americans.
Yeah,
I wonder what that could be due to. Well, we all
saw
know.
that. Yeah, the bioweapon jab.
Right.
I agree.
And they're obviously not going to
admit that.
Admit this. But I mean, it's at record highs. There's no other reasoning behind cancers in young people skyrocketing. Very unusual. Very unusual. Mark, you have any thoughts?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. And I certainly wouldn't discount that because it's something we don't know about it. But, listen, the manufacturers of our food and the food packaging industry.
Going on for a while, though. I figured.
Yeah, but there's been how we've been cutting corners.
The last 5 years of young people.
But listen, the advent of fake meat, these plant-based things. It's not just, I'm going to hone down some weeds in the back and make a delicious burger. These things go through these really extreme chemical processes. Yep. And so, and that's an advent that's in the last 10 years. And I think having a huge impact on water. You look at all of these drinks that are out there. I mean, you have seen the beverage industry. And, I battle with this with my kid all the time. He wants to drink these energy drinks. He's 16 years old. So you've got all of these things. I mean, all of these things that kids are taking now, they didn't take. We had Joe Weider protein. It tasted nasty. It was the only thing on the market. Now they've got like 5,000 beverages with all kinds of chemicals in them and artificial sweeteners and on and on and on you go. Yeah, there's a vaccine, but I'll tell you, look, these kind of cancers take many, many years to develop. But, you look at the diet and you look at the kind of things that young people are ingesting into their body. And now you've got, 12, 13-year-old, they're vaping at 10 years old. There are so many things that are wrong with the way we take care of our bodies in this country and medicine as a whole. It doesn't surprise me, but I don't think you can single out one thing like the vaccine. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think it's helped. And I think, there are a lot of issues. But look, we're stuffing our bodies with some poison.
I agree. But also add to that in youth health is the mental. They're so mentally weak and mentally sick today. And mentally just physically lazier, so that adds to all that as well. And
how about the ADHD meds that we've been
big pharma
addicting our kids, in kindergarten because they're too rambunctious. So dumb them down, turn them into zombies. Is that causing these kind of cancers? It's definitely changing the way the brain develops and the body functions. So there's a lot of things wrong with what we do and what we're putting in our bodies.
Those guinea pigs in school.
Yeah.
Billy, you still there?
I think he'll be back. I think he said I think he had to take care.
Well, yeah, the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, that's a big problem. And
big pharma for sure.
So young kids, Jesus Christ.
What about the spraying in the sky? Do you guys think there's chemtrails?
I wouldn't doubt it. I was thinking about that. I wouldn't doubt that they're spraying stuff in the air because sometimes I feel like
you're always sized up, right? You have a lot of and you always see the big clouds that stay there for a long time, spraying those chemicals. Oh no, it's just routine training. It's just jet.
What clouds are you talking about? You know about contrails of an aircraft? Those are called contrails. It's a phenomenon that happens at the higher altitudes due to the pressure.
We're talking about chemical trails where
those aren't chemical trails. Those are called contrails.
No,
they come off an airplane.
No, I'm not talking about those ones. There's
talking about something different.
Yeah.
But they're conflating it. They're saying that those planes. They're saying those are chemical trails. And
there's something called chemtrails that refers to the theory that governments or other parties are engaged.
The theory.
are engaged in a secret program to add toxic chemicals to the atmosphere from an aircraft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they say it's because you see those. But what they're saying is, oh, look at, I get this battle with my brother. What the hell are you talking about?
Everything the government has been guilty of. Go
exactly.
ahead.
Go
ahead.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, if this chemtrails thing had any legs to it at all, had any validity to it all, they've been talking about this for 20 and 30 years. Something would have come up. Somebody would have talked about it. What Greg's talking about is, and I had to work with this as a is you have certain levels of the atmosphere, typically around 30 to 35,000 feet, where jet aircraft flying through them causes condensation from the jet engines, which you see is that white condensation, which is nothing more than water. It's a cloud behind the jet. And if you watch the jets flying over, you can see, like, if it's the 747, you'll see four contrails coming off. Greg, have I got this right?
Absolutely. But see, that's what these people, these chemtrail people are saying. Oh, those are that's what they're citing. I get it. It's different. It's chemicals, but they're citing the contrails that we know come off aircraft. You see, those are, listen, it was, when we would brief before I go on B-1 missions, that's part of the brief. Contrails. Because guess what? When you're flying into a combat zone, you don't want contrails. So there's certain altitudes that you want to be at where you're not going to leave that, because the last thing you want is the enemy sitting on the top of a mountain with an SA-5 ready to shoot at you. That contrails is something that happens in aircraft, exactly what you say. But there are kooks out there that say, "Oh, look at that plane is shooting chemicals." I mean, it's Mike Lindell nonsense. Okay, Donald Trump's not going to be reinstated as president.
Funny. All right.
Yeah. Anyway, Greg, the one thing you never wanted to do is in your aircraft is you never wanted to be flying in the contrail levels. That was a no-no.
Right, exactly. That's why we got briefed on it. Like, these are the altitudes. There's our contrails. So you avoided it. Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why it was part of our brief. Right. It's not just something that we ignored because, bombers go high. We also go low.
Larry and I weren't talking about that.
We always knew that too. We knew that every day. Okay, the contrails are 32,000 to 34,000. Keep out of there. Those altitudes, right? No Angels 32 or 34.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But before we take off here, I want to mention this, just so we can break this down. The total U.S. debt, obviously, as we know, is over $34 trillion at this point. $1 trillion in the past 3 months, $2 trillion in the past 6 months, $4 trillion in the past 2 years, $11 trillion in the past 4 years. Think about that. 11 trillion in the past 4 years.
Jeez. Yeah, the growth rate is accelerating. That's why I say 50 million by 2030, or trillion rather.
It's never going to slow down, is it, Greg? They're never.
No, it's going to continue to accelerate because
Greg, they're never going to do anything about it. They're
not. Well, I mean, eventually it collapses and they just rebaseline everything. But no, it can't, because it's kind of like what they call this inflation wage price spiral. As you increase wages, you increase prices. As you increase prices, you got to increase wages. So you get this spiral. That's what's happening with the debt. We're increasing interest rates, and we've shortened the duration of our bonds. We're in other words, instead of issuing 30-year bonds, we started issuing in the 90s these short ones, 2, 3, 4, 5-year ones. So now you got to reissue them every 2 years, every 5 years. Well, what has happened in the last year, 2 years? Rates went from 0 to 5.25. So we're refinancing all of this debt at a massive interest rate that was, previously at a 0.5% is now, 5.5%, 4.5%. So, and oh, by the way, we're spending $2 trillion or probably three. I mean, we already know it's going to be 2. We spent $500 billion in the first quarter. All right. So that means we're going to spend at least $2 trillion. We spent $2.1 trillion last year. So yeah, we're spending more, and the interest rate is higher. So yeah, it's growing exponentially, and it's just not sustainable.
We're only ever going to pay the interest on it. Did you see?
We're not even going to be able to do that.
Did you see President Trump's answer to that? How he
He's
said
just
he
not
wants
pay
to-
everybody.
Huh?
Default.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, a default is going to happen. It's going to happen. You know, and we're going to default one way or the other. We're defaulting with inflation. That's one way to do default. It's kind of a pseudo default because think about it. These people lent us money 30 years ago when a dollar was worth a dollar. Wasn't worth a dollar. It was worth a hell of a lot more than a dollar's worth today. You know, inflation. So they lent us this money way back then when the money was worth something, and now we're going to pay them years later when the dollar isn't worth squat. And we're doing that again. We're borrowing this money today, and we're going to pay them back in 5 years or 10 years or whatever the bond is with a dollar that's way less. So we're basically defaulting on our debts. So that's why the global economy is waking up. They're going to say, you know what? I don't want these US dollars. And what we'll see happening is they're going to start pulling back on quantitative tightening. They'll start buying, go back to QE. They're going to start buying our own debt. It's going to be massive inflation because, look, the world is not buying our debt. They're not buying our bonds. They don't see the value in it. Why am I going to get 5% interest when it's going to inflation? It's going to be worth 10% less. I'm going to lose 5% of my money. So I think governments, as we're seeing now, central banks, are going to start moving to real assets. You know, buying gold, buying real estate and property, and getting out of the U.S. dollar.
Yes, sir. We were talking about that earlier, Merk.
Bill, you have any thoughts on this before we go?
Greg is doing a fantastic job on it. He's nailed it.
I know, right, Bill? What are we doing here, Bill? Jeez.
Excellent. And guys, any final thoughts tonight on anything?
Yeah, I sentiment to what Bill said. I do. Let's go Buccaneers playing the Detroit Lions in Detroit this weekend. We were there to kick some butt on Monday night. The atmosphere was great in Tampa, but I would love to see Tampa Bay get by and hopefully Green Bay beat the 49ers and the Bucs host the NFC Championship game here back in Tampa, Florida. But other than that, that's my little distraction. I was not watching football for a while because of their political stance, but I needed a little distraction and I got back into it a little bit. But anyway, other than that, that's nothing really not important that affects anybody's life. So I'll move on.
Yeah, it's going to be a good playoff, man. I'll tell you, it's going to be. Well, it already is. There's been some good games, but there's also been some blowouts. But it's been fun. It's been fun, and I think these games this weekend are going to be quite exciting.
Who do you got for Bills, Kansas City?
I'm going to go with Bills on that. I don't think Kansas City is playing to their highest potential. I don't think they're at the top of their game at this point.
Rory, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think Bills are playing better. I think they want it more. I think they're thirstier. I just think it makes sense for the Bills at this point. But go ahead.
I agree with you. I apologize. I get excited. I was saying I might drive up and go to that game actually.
That'd be cool, man. What is it? It's in Buffalo, right?
Yeah. So who's a Bills fan here? Merk is?
I mean, I got a house in Buffalo. I grew up in Buffalo. Lived there all my life. Sure. Yeah. I love
really?
Buffalo.
Man, I think they got it this year. That's who I'm taking for the Super Bowl in the AFC is the Bills, and I hope it is the Bucs. It won't be. It'll probably be the Niners, but that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Brock Purdy. I think he's a great player. But as a Seahawks fan, I don't want to see the Niners go.
Me neither.
Yeah, I want somebody to take care of them.
Hopefully Green Bay, and then Tampa Bay will take care of Green Bay. And
I think Green Bay can get the job done. I think that they have what it takes. I think it's going to be tough, but I think they can do it. I think it'll be close.
Yeah,
I think that game will come down to the wire. I think Bills and Kansas City will be close, but I think Bills are going to pull it off.
What about Houston Ravens?
You know,
I think Ravens win that game, but I think that's going to be close because I think CJ Stroud is a hell of a player. And he plays with so much heart, and the guy doesn't give up.
Plays with a lot of spirit.
And they went into that Cleveland's Browns game, the underdog, and look at how they shocked everyone. And people were like, wow. Most people said Joe Flacco and the Browns were going to go in there, take care of business. And we all know the Houston Texans were having a rebuilding year. They weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs, so they overcame all the obstacles and the odds.
And they're giving all honor and glory to God after every moment. And if you look, NBC Online changed what he said. So if you look at the
they
live
cut it out.
What he said, and
they just edited the first part. He said,
they edited out
first and foremost, I want to give all the glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They completely cut that out.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the other game? We listed 3 games. There's one other one. Who's
and it's the well, we talked Ravens, Houston, Kansas City, Bills, Bucks, Lions,
There's one more.
and then Niners, Packers.
9. Oh yeah. Okay. We got it. Bill.
Hey, I'm more focused on something else, Rory, and I want to congratulate you. If you want to get to the real playoffs, it was Washington Huskies beat Texas, right? And then ended up playing in the finals against Michigan. Sadly, Michigan won. I was all for the Huskies to win that one.
Right.
Penix played well. You guys did a good job, and then you lost your coach.
Yeah, that game though, that national championship was disappointing. I don't think we played.
Hey, yeah, but you were in it. And my Mizzou Tigers weren't in it.
Right.
The quarterback's from my home county, Rory. The quarterback of that school's from my home county here.
Yeah, Penix, I mean, played good all year, was the runner-up for the Heisman, and completely froze during the national championship. Definitely wasn't himself in the national championship, and he
got beat up.
We've
seen players when they get to that game freeze up in the past. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen when they don't know how to handle the biggest stage. But go ahead. Sorry, Bill.
I was just going to say, I think Michigan's pressure had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Bill, do you think Harbaugh leaves, Bill?
Oh, yeah. He's going to the Chargers.
Chargers, right? That's where I got it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
What about Belichick?
Belichick is going to the
Falcons,
either the Cowboys or the Titans, is what they're saying.
He's got a number of interviews. Apparently, he's interviewed with
or
the Cowboys.
He could go to Seattle too. He's going to talk to the Seahawks.
Second one today was with the Falcons here today. Second one today.
I think he's overrated, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if Seahawks get Belichick. I wouldn't be surprised.
I want a team that I can't stand to get him.
Yeah, I never liked Belichick.
Yeah. So the real question is going to be answered soon. Did Tom Brady win the Super Bowls or?
Well, you ask the teammates, and all the teammates say it was all Tom Brady and not Belichick.
Right.
And you look at his record with Brady and without Brady, it's very different.
Right. Bill, you still with us? I don't know what happened with Bill.
Well, but no, it's the players that do play the game and have to execute the game plan. So you really always got to give credit to the players
No, absolutely. And no, Bill, as you were saying, sorry.
Yeah, I lost my internet went down.
No worries.
I got lost.
That was Bill Belichick who played in your internet.
Yeah, all I was saying was, was it Brady that won the Super Bowls or Belichick? But Belichick never won anything until he got Brady. He didn't win anything at Cleveland.
That's right.
And he didn't win anything when Brady left. So we'll see if
he did win with the Giants as defensive coordinator, but other than that, he wasn't.
What do we think Nick Saban's next move is?
I think he's gonna do color commentating.
The Village Inn in Florida. What's that retirement community?
Oh yeah, the Villages.
The Villages, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got
a lot of nudists in I hear down in that area. I'm sure he's gonna hang out over there.
Sure. Wait a minute. Saban's got a house in southern Florida that's probably as big as the Villages is, so he's okay.
Yeah, he is.
Brian, tell everybody where they can find you, get involved.
Oh yeah, basically look here on NexGen Live, Centralist TV. I do have YouTube. I think all the other ones are getting connected. I don't know. Tune in wherever you can. Just start from there with NexGen Live, Centralist TV, YouTube, my Fascist Book page. We're kind of guide you to everything as well. I am on here and there because I'm trying to build where we can interview live people, trying to take it to where, I want to kind of go to like the Bills game and do the sports part of the show. So I'm trying to kind of figure out things and also want to really just bring on like a guest kind of people who are struggling, keeping it real, who might be whistleblowers, kind of just really digging into that. So that's why I haven't been on every day, but I tune in here and there. Definitely want to bring good content. I don't want to just come on and talk for an hour and repeat the same things over and over, and so that's why sometimes it's selective, but follow me here. really just going through a spiritual fight right now as well. So just really kind of want to spend time with as much as time with God right now as well. So just really battling that. There's a lot of evil going on. When good men stand up against evil, you get attacked and stuff, but I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. And I just want to give all honor and glory for him for giving me the strength and the platform here with you guys, Rory. Rory, thank you for, having me on here. Really, I am always grateful and thankful. And God bless you guys all. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep standing tall and kick some ass and take some names, baby. Amen. Woo! Oh, and Ric Flair was at the Bucks game. Woo! Thank you, Rick.
Amen. Amen. Bill Muckler.
Well, if you wondered what happened to me earlier and you're going to ask me where you can find me, you're going to find me in the kitchen because I need to turn on the oven because I'm having a late dinner tonight.
Hey, what are you making? What are you making?
I got some roast pork and some sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to be doing okay. In the meantime, I got a show that I do at 11 o'clock in the morning, shortly after I have my breakfast. So anyway. Hey, it's great being on with you guys. God bless everyone.
Amen. God bless you too, Bill. Greg Merck.
Yeah, always TheNexGen Live and Daily S&M, so you can always find me here on the network.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody, it's been a fantastic show tonight. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Another episode of TheNexGen Live in the books. We will see you all very soon. Until next time, I'm Rory Sauter. God bless. Much love. Cheers, everybody. Good night.
Go Bucks. Let's go Bucks.